Deshaun Watson, these allegations are only getting worse than I think all of us had previously or initially anticipated. Houston lawyer Tony Busby said in a news conference Friday that he will be filing an additional 5 lawsuits against the Houston Texans quarterback. That brings the total cases to 12 alleging inappropriate conduct and sexual assault. Busby has also stated that he has spoken to more than 10 additional women who have come forward with reports about similar conduct from Watson. Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin, has said that the allegations are meritless. Watson has categorically denied it. He came out before the allegations were released and said that they are false. And the NFL right now is reviewing the matter currently. Galata, I will go to you first. We did not know initially how bad these allegations were against Deshaun Watson, but now that we're seeing it get into the double figures with possibly 10 more women ready to come forward, Deshaun Watson, unless this is something, a smear campaign, this is something that is now irreparably probably stained his reputation no matter how it goes.
I mean, first, I hope it's not a smear campaign. Let's just
start
with that, I guess, because, I mean, that would be, I think, the worst. Because if they did that, then that's undermining everyone that actually has real allegations in, the world. And that's something that would hurt, trying to get women to speak out. And, so I hope it's not just to put down his, characteristics or whatever, his character. So I hope it's not that. And it's just too early to come up with conclusions before there's a trial and all the news comes out, all of everything comes out. I mean, look, that's a lot of lawsuits though. And like, that's something that you have to, go see, but it's just, again, it comes at a really interesting time with all the trade rumors and everything. And again, it's something that just for me, I would like to wait and see for everything to come out before we go race to conclusions about Deshaun Watson. And I'm assuming there'll be a trial and all that stuff. So right now, that's kind of where I am, just because it's so difficult to make conclusions when not all the information's out there. And it's very difficult to, kind of know who's right or who's wrong. And like right now, it's almost like a he said, she said, because you have Watson coming out against it and so it's just so difficult to really make a judgment on it.
Yeah. And I mean, 12 women, that's a lot of women. Wow. I mean, that is a lot of women. They all have a very similar story about, I think it was at a massage parlor. And so it's upsetting. It's disappointing. I mean, I think that the NFL has kind of a history sort of misconduct with women and NFL players. And so I think that, again, not surprising, but it is unfortunate that this continues to happen. And like you had said, talking about it from like a purely football perspective, in that this makes him very undesirable to trade, even if a trial goes through and they determine that it's false, this is a stain. This is a huge stain. And I think that his hopes of getting out of Texas are probably diminishing, because nobody wants to add Deshaun Watson to their organization if he is going to be followed by rumors and stories of sexual misconduct. I mean, well, I hope not. I guess I don't know, but I would hope that people would not want to condone and kind of continue those actions by rewarding him with bigger, more money and better teams. So it is at a bad time, I guess, for his career. But if these are true allegations, then this is terrible for what he's done to these women.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, because Deshaun Watson is crazy because he's the consummate professional. From everyone that you speak to and you hear from Dabo Sweeney to scouts, Louis Riddick, all these other guys, they talk about, the kind of man he is and being someone that you can look up to, that young kids can look at as a role model. And then for this to come out, and it's hard to, because until proven otherwise, you have to listen to these accusers and you have to let them have their day in court for a chance to prove their story correctly. So we can't dismiss them immediately. We have to wait and see what the due process is, how this works, and if it does go into criminal court. And I think for Deshaun, and Tony Busby said that inappropriate conduct from Watson, it happened as recently as this month. So when you think about that, there's a lot to unpack and unload here against Deshaun Watson. And until, they get to court and they go back and forth and we find out what it really is and what the decision is, we can't make any conclusions, of course. But I just hate that this had to come out right after, or not too long after Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. And somebody made a point that Tony Busby, I believe he lives on the same block as the McNairs. So that's where the smear campaign, that's where that is coming from, whether Busby and McNair are somehow in cahoots. That's conspiracy theory talk, and that's for another type of show. But it really is just awful that for Deshaun, he wants to get out of Houston, play for a contender, but now this has happened. And Kayla, as you mentioned, it just seems like his reputation, whether he gets cleared or not, people are going to look at him differently now, and there's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys are, completely right. And I think they will get, their day in court to obviously figure it all out. And then it's just like, it's deeper, I think, than that. As you said, it's just like that he lives right next to him. And it's just like, it's kind of weird, like in that respect. Now, who knows, maybe there's something else, but like, that's why you just have to unpack it. You kind of have to dive a little deeper into it. And I bet that, at the end of the day, the truth will come out, hopefully. And that's kind of what I think we all want here. And it's just, again, I mean, when you're looking at Deshaun Watson, he wants to get traded. I mean, I don't know what team would really want, obviously want to trade for him and that trade value. Or you really, Kayla, as you said, you want to give up like the house for someone that, has these allegations against them, because it's not like a little trade. It's the trade of your franchise, basically, and looking at it. So again, that obviously brings his trade deadline down, but then does like it come to the point, does Houston want him? And like that, would that then go into question? Would they be like, oh, we don't want this player anymore? Maybe then they want to trade. I don't know. It's just, you could look at it from so many different angles that until the truth comes out, I feel like speculating is just really, really hard because, Andrew, as you said, it's such a slippery slope.
Yeah. And I would just say this. Sorry, Kayla. I would just say this. We don't even know if this proves correct, Kayla. Deshaun Watson could be suspended. He might not even see a snap this upcoming year. So I think until we find out, I mean, teams aren't going to call Houston at all. And I think Caserio and the Texans, this is not a situation they're happy about, but at least they can kind of, breathe a sigh of relief that they no longer have to worry about the trade stuff. But this is much more important than whether or not you want to decide to trade your star quarterback.
Yeah, and I kind of want to circle back to Posadas. You had said that like everyone talks about his professionalism, but how many women reporters, I guess, have also said that? Like, I don't know that number at all, actually, but all these men may say, oh, he was such a great guy, but we've heard that a lot where, like in the Mets case, I think with Jared Porter, they never talked to any women reporters about how they felt about him. And so I think that it's hard for me to say that he is such a professional guy. And I've been covering Deshaun Watson since his beginning of his trade rumors. And so I personally have soured on him just because I'm tired of his saga. And so I don't know that that's enough reason, but I think that the fact that all of these men and Watson and his coaches, and they're like, oh, but he is a really good guy. But that's the point, right? Is that men always are going to kind of side with them and say, oh no, my God, my friend would never do something like that. My friend would never be a sexual offender. And that's the whole movement, right? Not all men, right? But the point is that they don't know that because he would never behave that way to them. And so I think that like, it's hard to say that he is or has always been a professional because they don't know what he's like when he's getting a massage from a female, from a woman, I mean, they've never seen him in that situation. And so as the numbers rise, I tend to give more credence, especially to the women coming forward. It is not easy to come forward as a sexual assault victim. And so that's obvious. And nobody wants that spotlight on them. So it's hard for me to be like, it could be a smear campaign, and it could. I'm not saying that it isn't. But I tend to kind of give more credence to the women saying things about him because these teammates, these men, these coaches, they don't know how he talks to women. They don't know how he reacts to them in private.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great point because it's not like he's going to act like that around, Louis Riddick or whatever it ends up being. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And as you said, I mean, as the numbers rise, I think that this story is going to get larger and larger and larger. And, if you get, I mean, I think he said, the lawyer said he's going to get another 10, like that's like then, I mean, 20, and it was happening like a month. He said like within the month. I mean, it's definitely something that you're like, this could be something that's definitely for real as the numbers start rising. Cause like, one person's different than 12, different than 22 for sure. And that's something that, again, I feel like time will tell. I think that's the biggest thing. And if it ends up being true, I mean, let's hope the NFL does, end up acting on it, because in the past they have been, very like 2-game suspensions. I know the whole Ray Rice thing, and, there have been a few other instances. So hopefully that, if it ends up being true, the NFL does act on it. So it'll be very interesting to see how all of that works out. And really it is just time will tell here.